probably an industry going to 15, 20 trillion dollars because what this.
That tells me Bitcoin is truly heading to higher six figures before the collapse as well, because that's only how XRP hits $100 and Ethereum probably 30 to 100k. S is about to hit the fan, guys. Okay, things are not looking too great if we look at the overall economy. Why? There are certain signals flashing as we speak and maybe warning us to prepare for the collapse, which then XRP will rise to its true nature, as in it will reign supreme. Jeff Bezos has sold $737 million worth of Amazon shares. Yeah, what's going on here, guys? Right, that's an issue in my eyes. And this hasn't been going on for years, but recently. Okay, so Jeff Bezos right here, July trade date 6:30, June 30th, June 27th, June 27th, and June 3rd. How much? Let's see here. The value 700 mil and then plus 50 right there, guys, for Jeff Bezos himself. And this was just recently. So in the past week, he sold $700 million worth of his shares. Now let us ask ourselves, why on earth would he do that? That's like $1 billion, and nobody needs that much to live off, right? Even if you do have yachts, mansions, and all that sorts of stuff. The reason to me is that the collapse is around the corner, and I have the strange feeling that we are near, guys. And remember, we are waiting for the collapse, right? We are, because that's where XRP will flip the switch. And these are the signals right here, the warning signs. But I think before the collapse, we're going to be talking about how cryptos will hit $20 trillion of market cap before the collapse, and probably after 100 trillion plus. Just wait a sec. Please like today's video as well. From bar chart, Warren Buffett indicator just hit 207%, the most expensive valuation in history. Bullish, right? Are you bullish with this hitting overvaluation, guys? So Wilshire 5,000 to GDP ratio, and basically this indicator shows us that when it does skyrocket, guys, okay, or when this goes to like a high percentage, what happens? 2000.com bubble right there, 2007 bubble right there, right? Was that 2020? This was 2020 right here, right? This was, I think, the next peak, 2021, 2022. That was just recently with tariffs, I think. And now skyrocketing again, guys. Okay, which tells me something is looming, like a big black swan event. Not to mention, Tether is getting hit left and right. New York bankruptcy judge gives Celsius the green light to pursue $4.3 billion lawsuit against Tether. What is this, right? So Tether, not only is Tether getting hit by RLUC, but also by the former friends of the industry, right? Of like billions of dollars, guys. Now, could they even pay that out if they lose this lawsuit is the question, right? So Tether is about to die, it seems like. It's literally getting hit by everything. And at the time the suit was filed, Tether pledged to fight it, calling the suit a baseless and shameless litigation money grab. Wow. So not only is Tether shady with USDT, but also the bankrupt crypto lender filed a lawsuit against Tether last year, alleging that Tether improperly liquidated nearly 40,000 bitcoins worth over $4 billion at today's prices, that it was holding as loan collateral in June 2022, shortly before Celsius halted withdrawals. In their suits, Celsius lawyers argued that Tether didn't give Celsius enough time to satisfy its collateral demands, which they claimed it had sufficient Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Wow. To do so, given that Celsius had instituted a pause on customer withdrawals, resulting in the retention of and access to a significant amount of Bitcoin. But Tether didn't care, and they liquidated 40,000 guys, okay, of their bitcoins, of Celsius bitcoins supposedly. So Celsius is going after Tether as we speak. Plus Amazon is selling stocks. Warren Buffett indicators skyrocketing, right? Though overall it seems like the economy is still doing great. In AC's unemployment rate falls to 4.1%, lower than expectations. while the yields are skyrocketing, right? So something doesn't add up here. This tells me the black swan will occur, guys, right? No July rate cut, probably not September either. So the reason why now they're not going to cut rates, I told you when they're going to cut rates. It's going to be during the black swan event, and I think probably fall time frame. You know why? Because this unemployment is falling. How is that even possible? The economy looks great, supposedly. Only this, when this rises to like 10%, that's when the black swan will hit and everything will fall. Look at this. We even got confirmed. Scott Besson says a Fed rate cut by September is likely, right? So we're getting there. And guess what's going to happen when they cut rates, right? But this is all before the collapse. Remember this. Trump's executive director says the crypto industry will probably go to $15 to $20 trillion after stablecoin legislation becomes law. Who else called it? Who else called it? We are the only people on this channel to say cryptos will probably go to $20 trillion before we see the collapse. Okay. Other people were talking about 5 trillion, as in Brad Garlinghouse. I did hear some others talk about 10 trillion, but the Trump team are stating that 20 trillion before the collapse occurs.
Bo, it's great to have you here. I really appreciate not just you taking time out of your very busy day at the White House here at the Bitcoin conference, but to spend a few minutes with us. We really appreciate that.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Fred. It's a pleasure to be here.
Your industry, I know you guys have the stablecoin, the Genius Act teed up, ready to go. What do you think the impact of that is going to be?
It's really monumental. First and foremost, I don't think it should be lost on anybody. We haven't had bipartisan legislation move out of Senate banking and actually get passed since 2018. I think our Democratic colleagues certainly understand that the United States needs to lead the charge in terms of updating our current financial systems. I've said repeatedly throughout this conference, everything else has evolved, right? The ways in which we communicate, the technology that we use, the ways in which we move money really hasn't. And I think that's the
Wow, the way we really move money really hasn't evolved, which he's talking about XRP there, right? This is why it's quite important, guys, because XRP is going to come alive soon. From July 14th to the 18th, we got Crypto Week. We got the Clarity Act, Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and then the Genius Act, right? All of these will be passed, which will then, he says, it will make crypto skyrocket to $10 to $20 trillion before the collapse occurs.
Shocking to a lot of people. But what Genius does, it permits instant settlement times, more cost-effective payments, more transparency. It secures U.S. dollar global dominance for decades to come. And, this should be the least partisan piece of legislation that ever moves through Congress. So, we feel very optimistic about where things stand. I think we picked up some 15 Democrats on the cloture vote. Hopefully next week we'll get this thing passed. We'll move it to the House and put it on the president's desk to be signed. The capital injection that goes into digital assets ecosystem as a result of stables is enormous. I think that you're looking at probably an industry going to $15, $20 trillion because what this does is...
Look at that. We were the only people to say it, though. Right? I know a lot of people were laughing when we did say call for 20 trillion, but that means XRP will head to XRP has been confirmed that it will reach $100 before the collapse. The reason being is because we did the math. 20 trillion total market cap for cryptos will be equivalent to XRP holding 20% of dominance, I think. That will equal to what's it called? 5 trillion. Right, which will equal to $100 per XRP.
Is it establishes really the foundation for all the exciting things that we've dreamed of. Tokenized public securities, 24/7 markets. If you want to access U.S. capital markets, you're going to have to use a dollar-backed stable. And this is what positions the United States to be the global leader. And in reality, we should be pushing this change. We should be at the forefront of adoption of digital asset financial technology and really leading the charge globally in that. It'll protect the U.S. economy. It'll certainly create innovation here in the United States, and that's something we should all be excited about.
So we haven't even seen the great wave appear. It will only appear when the Federal Reserve starts cutting rates and they start printing. But for that to occur, they need to induce a black swan event. Do you guys see how everything ties up now? That's why Amazon's selling so many shares, right? Indicators are flashing, red signals, plus Tether is about to go ballistic, berserk, right? So now it starts to make sense, doesn't it, guys?
That's great. Obviously, anything that helps the price of Bitcoin helps all of us in the Bitcoin industry.
Well, that's right. I think that too, with this capital injection, being able to move in and out of different asset classes at will, naturally, Bitcoiners will benefit from that. People will be purchasing Bitcoin in large amounts, as they should. We've talked about repeatedly that we view Bitcoin as digital gold for all the reasons that we've laid out over the course of the past week, and moreover, really over the course of the past few months. It's commodity, not a security, intrinsic stored value, finite, all the things we look for on the decentralization side. David likes to say that Bitcoin has the immaculate conception. I get asked all the time too, as we set up the strategic Bitcoin reserve, it's like, how much Bitcoin do you want? And I think that's a very silly question that journalists ask. We want as much Bitcoin as we can possibly accumulate. Now, obviously, we have to do that in these budget neutral ways.
That tells me Bitcoin is truly heading to higher six figures before the collapse as well, because that's only how XRP hits $100 and Ethereum probably 30 to 100K. I'm not even kidding. People think I'm joking, but this is the truth. We said this for years, and now they're stating it. We just got confirmed.
But I think that there's many creative ideas out there that we can act on.
And one of the great opportunities, I think, especially that solves two issues. One is helps the government accumulate Bitcoin and helps Bitcoin miners establish more hash rate in the U.S. is to partner with the U.S. government using energy potentially as a way to generate Bitcoin for the strategic reserve.
No, I think that that's a phenomenal prospect that we should certainly be keen on acting on. As we flesh out these ideas amongst the interagency working group, which was established in the president's first digital assets EO, the president likes to say he has a lot of high IQ people in his cabinet, and I think he's certainly right about that. So we'll work with Commerce, we'll work with Treasury, Secretary Letnick, Secretary Bessent, to find these creative solutions. But I think that a public-private partnership between the miners could be a phenomenal way to accumulate Bitcoin for the reserve.
Well, we certainly look forward to being.
So there we go, guys. They're getting prepared. They're truly getting prepared. Why? Because they're setting the stage first. The Senate Banking Committee will hold a hearing on crypto market structure on July 9th, which will include Brad Garlinghouse. So they're going to be extremely bullish on XRP here. Right then, next week is going to be Crypto Week from David Sachs. Congratulations to President Trump, the House and Senate leadership, and White House staff for passing one big beautiful bill. Next up is Crypto Week. July 14th, Genius Act stablecoins is heading to the president's desk. Clarity Act market structure is heading to the Senate. And why do you think they want to reduce taxes on cryptocurrencies? We got a new law here, right? A new legislation from Senator Cynthia. Why? Because when cryptos do skyrocket, they don't want to pay taxes, as much taxes, right? When they truly do make Bitcoin go to a mill, Ethereum to 100K, XRP to $100, and they hold all literally as much crypto as possible. Do you think they want to pay so much taxes? No, which would mean taxes are going to get less as well. So this is full blown setting the stage of what's upcoming, guys. Right? Let us prepare because good times are on the horizon, as well bad times, but overall great times after the collapse. Now, the nature of vice, XRP will reign supreme. But it was as always, see ya.